What's up, guys? I am Mike Arnold, the owner of Creekside Outdoor Living, and this is a video about a French drain. I want to talk about a French drain, and the reason we have to talk about this is because we live in Northwest Indiana, where we have clay soils, where we have lots of rain, and where we have subdivisions that are built, and we get landlocked, and we start getting flooding in your backyard, flooding in the side of your yard. So there's a couple ways to tackle this, but I really quick want to talk about the French drain. The French drain is used to, say your whole back side of your lot is holding water. What we would be doing then is installing a perforated drain, and I'll explain this in a second, right literally in the entire area, and then have that same tubing that runs in there come either maybe forward, where there's a lower elevation spot and it can dump the water out. Maybe it's into a back storm drain. Maybe you have a back berm and you need to go straight through that berm off to the back where there's lower level. Another reason for the French drain is you need to take water from one area and have it not only transported to another destination, but also disperse that water along the way. So you gotta think, if this is super wet and this is super dry, and you have a drain that is slotted, by the time this water gets to this point, hopefully, it will have dispersed a lot of this water in this drain here. So, what happens when we come to your house and we do a French drain and we say, hey, we need to have this entire area back here needs to be a French drain, right? Oh, by the way, this is a house right here, driveway, in case you couldn't notice. So what that means is, say this is a cutaway shot. Here is your grass, and we're going to dig a trench like this. So again, here's your grass over here. We just dug a big hole right here. Depending on the size of tubing that we use, we're probably going to dig this trench 8 inches, 10 inches or so deep. What then is gonna happen, our crews are going to bring in a filter fabric that is going to line this soil right about there or so. So, main concept behind the fabric. This is going to be filled with stone, and if you've ever taken a rock and thrown it in the dirt and stepped on it, what happens? It meshes in. We don't want that to happen. I want to keep this completely free of any kind of soil. So, line this with the fabric. Probably get our 3/4 inch limestone about an inch or so before I put my drain tube in. Then I'm going to install this drain tube. Drain tube is going to be typically about 4 inches in diameter. Now this drain tube, again, is running on the inside of this right here. All right, so stay with me here. Once I get this tube in and I have got it to where it's going, whether it's tapping into a storm drain, whether it's going to the front of the lawn, I can now start installing the rest of my stone. Like this. Now, once I get to maybe 3 inches or so below grass level, we're gonna fold this fabric back over. So now this is its own self-contained unit. And then now if you had grass up on top, we can bring soil, well, I can probably use this, soil back up over the top of this, fill this back in, put grass seed down, put down sod, and get your grass growing again. What we'll likely do in the worst spots where you're collecting the most water is install a couple surface drains, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 1. It depends on your property and your problem. What that drain is going to do, it's going to go straight into this tube. So there will be what we call a T, plumbing T, and that's going to go straight up like this. To where there will be a little drain basin like this. And the drain grate will be visible, but it's not going to be sticking up out of your lawn by any means. That's just for any kind of really, really heavy rushing water to roll over the top of this grass and then into that drain and then down into this drain tile pipe. Now, not all of the water is going to make its way to these drains, right? I'm sure maybe one of you has had a landscaper come by before and they installed just one little drain and then solid tubing and took it to another spot. And then you're calling us later going, not really sure what happened. This guy did this thing and it's not working. Well, the whole purpose of all of this stone is all of this is soaked, right? You walk back and your lawn, you're squishing in your shoes, the water's rolling over your feet. This is all super saturated soil. And what we just did was we took out all of that water-logged soil and replaced it with drain stone that can't get soaked, but rather the water can freely enter this soil, go straight. Once it hits this fabric line, it's going straight down. It's not going to just sit around in the soil and wait until the sun's out for 2 weeks. It's going to enter this stone area immediately, enter this drain immediately, and then out to our desired destination. So hopefully that makes sense. I think I covered all the bases here. There's usually a lot of labor involved in something like this. And 9.5 times out of 10, whenever I quote these things, our client is going, whoa, didn't expect that. Well, what's happening here is if this guy is almost a foot, this is maybe 3 or 4 feet wide, and we're stretching 80 to 100 feet, you gotta think that's a lot of soil for our guys to dig out. It's a lot of labor. Labor or machinery that has to excavate this all out. It's a decent amount of material. Material's definitely not the biggest cost item here, but really a ton of labor for a project like this. And if you've done it before and you're coming back, well, you know that if it's the cheapest thing in the world, it's probably not going to earn you the best results. So hopefully that makes sense. That's all I got for you.